Hi there, it's Rosie Duck Designs here. Thanks ever so much for joining me today. The card that I want to share with you today is this one, and it's made using the designer series paper from the new Frosted Floral suite, and also the main embellishment there is the daisy from the Daisy Delight stamp set. So first of all we need a card. Now you can choose to use a plain card if you wish, but what I've used here is one of the new foil-edged cards with the matching envelopes that are available in the new autumn-winter catalogue. Now these are £8.75 for 20, and I think they're really quite special. And really all the hard work is done for you. So that's the envelope. I'm going to put that to one side. I'm just going to fold that so I've got my card ready to use. Now this is the designer series paper that I'm using from, as I say, the Frosted Floral suite, and it's this beautiful mint macaron green, and there's this lovely shimmer to this paper. I'm not sure whether that will show up on camera, but it really is, it's got that sort of silky look and feel to it. Now I've cut the paper at 4 3/4 by 3.5 inches, and that is just going to sit in the middle of the card there. So I want to obviously secure that onto the base, and I'm using Snail to do that. So having folded it, I'm now flattening it just to make sure I've got a good eye on how it fits into the middle. That will do. I'm going to put that to one side for safety. Now the next element I'm using is the chicken wire element, which is actually from the Country Lane suite, which is again another one of my favourite suites from the new catalogue. And these come in 6 sheets, and they're already pre-cut. And that's your basic sheet. Now I'm looking for 3 3/4 inches, which is basically the size of the sheet. So if I take it out of the outer piece, I'm going to cut that so that I keep the other piece of it attached, ready for my next project. And I'm looking then for 2 1/4 inches coming down. So that wasn't too bad a guess. So I'm going to cut it along this line here. It literally cuts with your craft scissors. Now I actually want it to look like a bit like barbed wire, so I'm going to cut it so that I've got no rounded edges. If that makes any sense. I'll show you what I mean when I've done it. I need to apologise in advance because the cats are due to be fed in about half an hour, so this is probably not the best time to sit down and do a video. Now what I've tried to achieve is getting these so they actually look like the spokes of barbed wire on both edges. I'm going to attach that to the middle of the card, so I'm going to put it about there. And what I'm going to do is grab a piece of spare card, and I'm literally going to just put some Snail across the middle because that's going to be covered. So just to make sure it sticks well, I'd rather go with Snail. But obviously if that was going to show, you'd have to think of a different option, like maybe some Tombow that would dry. So I'm sticking that in the centre. So that's my card base ready to add the embellishment to. Put that somewhere safe. Now the next element is the daisy. Now I'm using the Shimmer paint, which there's 4 different colours in the new catalogue, and it comes in this little pot like this, and it's £7.50. I'm using the frosted white version. Now again, I'm taking a piece of spare card, and what I've done is I've stamped using the Daisy Delight stamp. So there's this one. I've stamped that onto a piece of mint macaron cardstock using the mint macaron ink pad. So I've finished up with this. Now what I'm going to do now is paint over the leaves of this so that I've got this white shimmer effect on it. I'm just taking a fairly small paintbrush, and although I want it to look white and shimmery, I don't want to lose the detail that's in the leaves, so the inked part of that. So I want that to shine through the paint. So I'm just going through the leaves like so, just taking excess paint off of the brush on the side. Now this is going to be cut out using the Delightful Daisy punch. So if it goes very slightly over, don't stress, because you can put that right as you punch the leaf out. I know I often use the phraseology about watching paint dry. This is actually coming true today. Watching paint being put on and watching it dry. The thing with this, unlike the inks which dry straight away and the Wink of Stella, this seriously does need to be put aside so that it dries properly before you start working with it again. So if you were doing this as a project, you'd do all 4 like this and you'd put it to one side, go and get yourself a nice cup of tea or something, and then come back to use it or to punch it out and carry on using it. So let me put that up there. Now my thought was that in addition to the whiteness, the frostiness on the leaves here, I also wanted to capture that on the back of the flower. So although it's not going to be particularly visible, if it catches the light you will see that white frostiness from the back. So to achieve that, once it's dry on the front, I've then cut it out, and I'm literally going to cover the whole of that with the frosted white paint. Now in this instance I'm not trying to make sure that I keep any details of anything I've stamped, so you can afford to be a little more generous with the paint and not particularly careful, if I'm honest. So you can get this bit done a lot quicker. Now, as is usual, I think I've got everything I need, and of course I haven't. So I'm just going to ask my very kind husband, who is filming this for me, to perhaps, when I've just finished this, to turn off the film while I go and retrieve what I actually need for my next bit of this project. See, one day I'm going to surprise everybody and get it right, but it's probably not going to happen that in the very near future. Right, so I will put that to one side to dry, and the idea was that you finish up with 4 flowers cut out and painted on both sides. Now I will take this with me so I don't get the opportunity of making a mess on anything with this wet paintbrush. It just cleans off in water. Have a bit of kitchen roll to hand. So if we can just stop the film for a moment. So sorry about that. So here are 4 daisies that I've made earlier. 3 I've already curled, because you don't really need to sit and watch me do 4 of them. Now on this one, this is how I'm going to curl this daisy like that, and I'm using this new take your pick tool that is again available in the new catalogue, and it costs £9. Now if you saw my walk through the catalogue video, you'll know that 80% of this tool I really love. There's a part of it that I'm seriously struggling to use, but for the sake of £9 I would really recommend adding this to your collection. Now I'm using the stylus at the on this end of the tool. It comes with 2 different sizes of stylus, and I'm using the thicker of the 2, and I'm using the foam matting from my Big Shot brush. And as I explained on the previous video, you need something that gives you that sort of depth, because the flower has to sink into it to curl. So taking the stylus, I'm now going to hold the petal and I'm just going to roll it into the centre. Now it is card, the one I demonstrated before was paper, so that is obviously a little bit more fragile, but even so, even with card, there is a certain fragility to it, so just take it gently. The last thing we want to happen is a petal to fall off at the last hurdle. You can see I'm just rolling that into the centre. Now up until having this tool I always used my bone folder, and if you've got a bone folder then that does curl the petals very well. It just doesn't quite give the curl that this does. Right, so that's that. So now it's a case of assembling that daisy. Now I don't literally want it looking like a bowl, so I'm going to just slightly flatten it. I'm going to stick 2 of them together by putting Snail on the bottom one, and then I'm offsetting the petal. So I've got a gap there, so I'm looking to fill that gap with one of the petals. Then we need a Stampin' dimensional in the middle. I'll flatten these 2 slightly, and again I'm attaching those together with Snail, and I'm offsetting the petals. So you finish up with a daisy type gerbera flower. Now if you remove the centre from the Stampin' dimensional, and then again you need to marry up the bottom one with the middle one, so the 4th with the 2nd, if that makes any sense. So going in on the top there, just pressing that down and securing it. Now you can then gently pull all the petals down or rearrange them to your to what you're looking for. So I'm looking for it to be with the middle petals up, but the bottom ones I'd like to see them down a bit. It's dangerous. I can see Ollie out the side of my eye now, so anything could happen. And I'm going to finish that off with one of these clear faceted gems, and they are just £4.75, coming in various sizes, but they're absolutely brilliant for the centre of this daisy stamp. So that's the middle part of my card now finished. I'm going to attach that to the card. No, I'm not going to do that at the moment. I'm going to put that on the back, ready to attach it to the card. What I want to do is stamp the middle of the card. Now I want to use a thank you out of this Delightful or Daisy Delight set. In this one I've used the Congratulations stamp, which comes from the First Frost stamp set. But in this instance I want this card I'm making as a thank you card, so I'm going to stick with the Delightful Daisy stamp set and use the thank you from there. And I'm going to do that in mint macaron so that it's matching up with the front of the card. Put those out the way. Normally I'd use a long thin block, but it probably won't surprise you to know that I brought the wrong one in with me. I'm just testing it out, make sure I'm happy with that. I'm just going to go for the middle of the card. Okay, put that away for safety. And I'm going to clean my stamp using the chamois, which again I think I've said on numerous occasions, this is a brilliant addition, certainly to my crafting, because I certainly get in a mess when I use baby wipes. If I do it straight away, then there's less chance of me sticking ink where I shouldn't have it. £7.50, and what you need is one of these little stamp set cases. That's an ideal, the thin version to keep it in. That's brilliant. I'll just pop that to one side. So I now want to stick my daisy to the front of the card. I'm going to go for the centre in the middle of the chicken wire. So that's basically my card done. I just want to add some faceted dots to that. And this one I've used the smaller ones, just put 3 randomly on there just to add a little bit of extra detail. I have to say I've run out of that size, so I haven't got 3 of those, so I'm going to go with some larger ones. So again, these are in mint macaron and they are £5.50 for a whole set. You can see this has been quite a popular one for me, that I've only got these few left. Now, because I'm always going for a laugh, I'm going to have another go at this end of this tool. So in case you've missed the walkthrough of the catalogue, I will just quickly run through this. It's one end has got a little bit of putty, and you can use it to just pick up little bits and pieces and place them on your work. So I mean, ideally you'd have like things like sequins and you'd just be placing it on top of little glue dots and things like that, but it just literally picks up bits and pieces which are quite hard to pick up with just your bare hands. So I've got the hang of that, it's really good, I like that. And then we've got, as I said, 2 stylus, size of stylus. Now it unlocks, and that's the thinner one, and the head interchanges with a paper piercer and this little tool, which is a spatula. Now this, if you watch the Stamping Up video, and I'm sure any other demonstrators videos, it works perfectly. I struggled, but it was certainly good for a laugh. But the idea is that you get the spatula behind the glue dot. See, it's happening again. I've practiced this during the week, and it wasn't that unsuccessful. Okay. Slightly better than my attempts last week. So I'm going to go for another one. There we go. We'll pop that one over there. It's saying you should quit while you're ahead, but I'm just going to go for it. Every video needs a bit of comedy, doesn't it? There you go, that's the idea of that. So actually I'm thinking I quite like that one a bit further over, so let's see if this actually works, or I can make it work. I'm picking that up again using the spatula. There's no damage to the card, and I'm going to pop it down here because I think because they're bigger, I actually want them more spaced out than I had them on the other one. So yeah, I'm happy with that. This is a little bit too full, I think, to go in an envelope, so I'm just going to flatten that. There you go, that's the finished card. So as always, it's always nice to pretty up the envelope, and you could do that using the little daisy, or one of these little daisy things here that would marry in with the daisy that you've put on the front of the card. Actually, because I've got both stamp sets, I want to do what I've done with this envelope. I want to use that stamp set, which then ties in with the background of the designer series paper. So I'm just going to do that. There's the envelope. That to one side, that to one side. So I'm grabbing that stamp out of the First Frost stamp set. Now, this isn't a photopolymer stamp, this is the Salt. This is a red rubber clear mount stamp. Now, I've said this before, if you have trouble sticking these to your blocks, just use a bit of lip salve. You can not bother to put the pattern on, but personally I like to see the pattern of the stamp so I know exactly what I'm doing with it and what it's going to look like. So not having that on is not an option for me, but I am aware that it can be difficult to make it stick onto the block, but lip salve works every time. So again, I'm just going to go with the Mint Macaron ink. Hello Timmy, we've not had you in a video before, have we? Yes, I know it's dinner time. You're going to have to, well, actually it's not officially dinner time, 20 minutes before dinner time. There you are, so you've met all three cats now. So I'm just going to put that on the corner there of the envelope, just so it ties it in with the card and it's not just a plain envelope. You've got some nice silver edging on the back there, so I don't necessarily feel the need to put anything more onto that card, onto that envelope rather. So there we have the finished card and the envelope. So if you fancy having a go at that, all the supplies are available from my online shop. I'll put a link on that, or for that, on the front of the video. So I think that's about it today. Next time, the other suite that has particularly caught my eye, as I said, is this one, the Country Lane suite. So I'm going to have a look at that during the next few days and come up with some ideas of how we can use that one to make some couple of cards. And I actually want to have a go at making this picture. So I'll see how we get on with that, and I'll be back to share that with you. But for now, thanks ever so much for joining me. Until next time, take care. Bye.